Huli ka! Ni Jojo Sepial, you have the right to remain silent. Ang programa sa radyong walang sinasanto, walang kinatatakutan, walang inuurungan sa serbisyo publiko.
Magandang umaga po. Nagtipon tayo ngayon upang gawing makatarungan ang buhay para sa napakaraming pamilyang Pilipino. Marami sa kanila ang pakiramdam para bang nakakulong, nasasakal, hindi mapakali sa loob ng dekadekadang pagkatali sa kanilang mga mapang-abusong asawa. Marami sa kanila gusto lang makalaya mula sa apelyido na ang tanging dala ay masasamang alaala. Mga asawa, babae man o lalaki na walang sustento, missing in action, mapanakit, mapang-api at hindi tumutupad sa mga sinumpaan nila sa harap ng Diyos. Hindi iyan ang itinuro sa atin ng Diyos. Ang sabi nga ng iba, isang papel na lang ang nag-uugnay sa kanila. Bakit pa ipagkakait sa kanila ang kalayaan at hayaang makakulong sa isang relasyon na mapanakit, walang pagmamahalan at pagpapahalaga sa isa't isa? Lalo't higit para sa mga kabaroko. 1 in every 4 ever-married Filipino women has suffered abuse at the hands of their husbands. Some Filipino women have almost been killed by their own husbands. But most of them cannot leave their marriages because of the prohibitive costs of filing for an annulment. Umaabot minsan ng lampas sa kalahating milyon ang kailangang bayaran para sa prosesong ito. Bukod pa yan sa mental distress dala ng pamamahiya, pagtatalo sa hukuman, pagbabatuhan ng putik ng mga kampo. Napaka-toxic niyan lalo na sa mga bata. Nais ko ring ipaalala po sa lahat ang isang 2018 survey ng SWS na aprobado ng 53% ng mga Pilipino ang diporsyo. This morning, let us give Filipino families the chance, a way out that is straightforward and no fault. Once you've realized you've made a mistake, the way out shouldn't be traumatizing to the average married Filipino, financially, psychologically, and socially. We all deserve a second chance at love and in life. Maraming salamat po. San Rafi, baka nais niyo pong magbigay ng opening remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to the Honorable Chairman of this committee, Senator Riza Hontiveros, to my colleagues in attendance, and to those invited as resource persons in this hearing today. Today's matter to be heard is one of, if not the most controversial issue facing our system of family laws. The topic of dissolution of marriage necessarily involves multiple important considerations, such as its effect on the children, if any, and how our system of dissolutions will stand in the face of our country's strong religious convictions. It is often cited that aside from the Vatican, the Philippines is the last remaining country. Again, the Philippines is the last remaining country which does not recognize divorce. Sa katunayan, ang bansang Espanya na nag-convert sa atin sa Kristyanismo ay may sarili ng divorce. At present, our only means of terminating the bonds of marriage during the lifetime of the contracting parties, other than invocation of the lack or defect of formal and essential requisites of marriage, is to our Family Code's Article 36, recognizing psychological incapacity as a ground for annulment. This lack of a divorce law creates a difficult situation for Filipinos. In my experience in public service, prior to my election as a senator, I have seen countless persons stuck in what is a toxic or unproductive marriage. Although the wife or husband suffers day by the hand of their spouse, they are left with no choice than to suffer endlessly to the detriment of the physical and psychological well-being. This representation puts forward that it is time to save Filipinos from this dead-end situation by enacting a divorce law that seeks to give substantial grounds for dissolving a marriage apart from psychological incapacity. In drafting the bill for legalizing the dissolution of marriage, I have come across and read through both civil and common law grounds as well as canon law grounds for dissolution of marriage. To my surprise, it would seem as if our laws in the family code is in fact stricter than those found in the laws of the Catholic Church. It is woefully absurd to me that canon law provides for multiple grounds for dissolution of marriage, while our current laws provide for less. In legislating grounds for dissolution of marriage, however, I do not agree that we allow dissolution by mutual consent. I'm a firm believer that for the marriage to be dissolved, there must be a substantial grounds, such as those embodied under our Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act, or VAUC laws, as it is more commonly known. To allow for mutual consent divorce would indeed reduce the value of marriage as a special contract between two parties and would reduce marriage to a multiple or simple settlement for property relations. For those who are worried that allowing divorce will go against their religious convictions, I find it proper to remind everybody concerned that the existence of a divorce law or other similar law does not present any compulsion to avail of its provisions. Those who have strong belief in the sanctity of marriage can simply choose not to avail of the remedy of dissolution of marriage. It is just unfair for me or to me that those who sorely need such law is prohibited by its application due to conviction of another. Further, to those saying that psychological incapacity in our family code is sufficient should be reminded of the mental acrobatics our courts have to perform in determining the grant or denial of annulment under the grounds. In strong language, I am constrained to state that Article 36 of our family code has already reached a bastardized level of accommodation in order to save persons from what is failing marriage, not to mention the fees involved in engaging legal counsel. To dissolve a marriage is not one that all persons can readily afford, and there is no guarantee in its grant on the grounds for psychological incapacity is vague in stating that there is an inability to perform the obligation of a marriage, and such incapacity has existed prior to the celebration of the marriage. All in all, the enactment of a law which legalizes the dissolution of marriage due to acts done within the existence of the marriage is not only poor, but is also non-invasive to the religious beliefs of other persons. It also gives us a chance to save those who are negatively affected, ills of dysfunctional marriage. I join my colleagues in the Senate who have passed a similar bill and hope that we harmonize all the best provisions in order to give Filipino families a chance to save themselves from endless sufferings. Thank you and good day to all.
Thank you also, Sen. Raft.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and to the honorable members of the committee. For Senate Bills number 147, 213, and 237, which seek to give spouses in irremediably failed marriages the opportunity to secure an absolute divorce decree based on the ground mentioned therein, and to grant the divorced spouses the right to remarry. As in previous Congresses, the Department maintains its reservation on the passage of a bill granting an absolute divorce. Said general reservations are anchored mainly on the following provisions of the 1987 Constitution, which are Section 12, Article 2, Sections 1 and 2 of Article 15, and Article 1 of EO 209, or the Family Code of the Philippines. Notwithstanding the above position, the department recognizes the plenary power and prerogative of Congress to amend and enact laws and defers to the wisdom of the legislature on the propriety of enacting the proposed bill. Considering that Senate Bill 147, 213, and 237 pertains to absolute divorce or dissolution of marriage, it is suggested to the committee to come up with a common draft bill that will consolidate these proposed legislative measures. We have, however, specific comments on the said bills, but considering the interest of time, we will submit our position paper embodying those specific comments once our Undersecretary in charge for Legislative Affairs signed that position paper. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you also, Attorney Ite Manito. Dumlao, you have the floor, ma'am.
Magandang umaga po, Madam Chairperson. On the part of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, we would like to mention that for Senate Bills 147, 213, 237, 554, 719, 1198, 12, and 1298, the Department expresses its full support to the proposed legislative measures. And the department has been consistent with its previous position to support measures that aim to legally end dysfunctional and toxic marriages and regain individuals' dignity and self-worth. All of our comments will be contained in the official paper that will be submitted by the DSWD to your office, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, ASEC, and also for affirming some of the committee's own values about upholding the dignity and the self-worth of the human person, including every member of the Filipino family.
Good morning, Madam Chair. The PCW has been strongly advocating for the passage of a bill that will institute divorce in the country. The proposal has been part of the PCW's Women's Priority Legislative Agenda since the 17th Congress. So we fully support the current bills filed since they address the recommendation of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or the CEDAW, to the Philippines in its concluding observation number 50 to ensure equality of women and men in marriage, as well as upon the dissolution of marriage, including by expediting adoption of the long-pending divorce bill. We would like to highlight that on PCW, as part of the committee to draft the IRR on SB 147, we welcome the inclusion of the PCW as one of the agencies to be involved in the crafting of the implementing rules and regulation, as well as the task of identifying two representatives from women's organization. We will forward to the committee our comprehensive position paper once finalized for the consideration of the committee and enhancement of the consolidated version of these bills. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you also, Mr. Salvador, pati dun sa alok ninyo na sasama kayo sa pagdraft ng implementing rules and regulations kapag harinawa na ipasa na itong mga panukalang batas bilang isang batas. Salamat, ma'am.
Good morning, Madam Chair. The Commission on Human Rights supports the reinstitutionalization of divorce. The UDHR, ICCPR, and CEDAW all emphasize the equal rights of women and men during marriage and its dissolution. Yet existing legal remedies in the Philippines exposes the vulnerable spouse to greater disadvantage. The Commission is of the belief that the enactment of a divorce law would protect the rights of women, even men, who are currently trapped in dysfunctional and abusive relationships. In line with this, the Commission recommends the filing of a substitute bill that would include provisions which remove qualifiers for repeated and grossly abusive conduct and habitual alcoholism. Additionally, we recommend adopting provisions from the current version of the bill in the House of Representatives, which includes grounds for summary judicial proceedings and exemptions to cooling off period. Madam Chair, our position paper has already been submitted to the committee. Thank you, ma'am.
Totoo nga, tulad ng mga dating kongreso, nauna na ang House sa Senado sa pag-approve on third and final reading nung kanilang version, and the chair would welcome together with, I think it was the DOJ earlier, kung lalahok din ang CHR sa technical working group para i-finalize yung mga panukalang batas na ito into the final law.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before anything else, I would like to politely stress for the information of this honorable committee that divorce is the only halal or permissible act to do in Quran, but is frowned upon by Allah. Sharia law permits divorce only after exhaustion of all possible means of reconciliation. In other words, it must not be an easy way out in marriage. Nonetheless, this is our position. The NCMF is of the definite impression to respectfully state the following positions. Number one, the Commission is of the view that divorce should be legalized to protect the overall welfare and well-being of the husband, the wife, and their children who are trapped in failed and abusive marital relationship. Number two, the Commission firmly supports the successful passage of all the bills related thereto, for it will have a monumental impact and contribution to the Filipino families, regardless of religious identity, considering that we the Muslims have practiced divorce via Presidential Decree number 1083, or the Code of Muslim Personal Laws. And finally, the Commission underscores the importance of freedom of marital couples to decide whether to sever their marriage or not. They have the discretion to determine their marital relationship. Madam Chair, Senator Riza, we have already submitted our position paper to the Secretariat. Alaikum salam.
Shukran, Attorney Manding, for the submission of that position paper, and also for reminding the whole committee about the existence and the continuing existence and service to the people of the Code of Muslim Personal Laws in our multi-faith, multi-religious national community. So once again, shukran for that.